Hey everybody, fragrances for the Greek gods and goddesses. This was my favorite subject to learn about back when I was introduced to it in middle school, maybe fourth to eighth grade, pretty much. And I loved this topic, so I thought it'd be cool to kind of associate some of the fragrances with very popular Greek gods and goddesses. So I'm gonna leave everything linked in the description box so you can follow along, or at least the names of the fragrances, so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna start with Aries because I feel like I'm gonna forget him if I don't say him now. And I don't have the bottle, but for Aries, the god of war, I'm gonna give him Red Tobacco by Mancera. Do I like Red Tobacco by Mancera? No. But Aries to me is like a guy's guy. You know, I don't know if you've heard about like the male gaze and the female gaze. I think Aries encapsulates the male gaze very well. It's just like to a lot of guys, they're like, oh, he's strong, he's assertive, he's a leader, he leads people into battle, all that kind of stuff, and he's like a rager, you know what I mean? And he's like super muscular and built and just like a typical guy's guy. And with Red Tobacco, it's a fragrance that I find, excuse me, I find that a lot of guys like on other guys, but girls don't like it on guys for the most part. They're kind of like, it's one of those masculine scents that is masculine to a point where it's like off-putting to a woman. You know, you're like, okay, yeah, it's kind of nothing really attractive about it. And that's me personally speaking and the girls that I've had smell it. Okay, so just my experiences. Now for Zeus. Also don't have this bottle, but Acqua di Gio Profumo, it's the black bottle. And to me, that thing screams father. It screams dad. It screams somebody that is experienced and he has his shit together for the most part. I see it better suited on 30s and up, even though, yes, teenagers can wear it. Guys or gals in their 20s can wear it if they want to, but I don't think it's as fitting as somebody in their 30s. When I think of Acqua di Gio Profumo, I think of somebody that has a fireplace in his office and has like cigars on top, right? So when I think of Zeus also, that's like in the hierarchy. Well, I'm tripping over these words right now. In the hierarchy of gods, like he sits at the top and they call him the god of gods, you know, so he's like the top dog, the father. And with Acqua di Gio, it's such a versatile fragrance that would suit any dad, really. So if you're looking for a gift for your dad, get him Acqua di Gio Profumo and he can wear it to any occasion, any season. Dumb reach fragrance. You don't have to tell him, hey, wear this specifically for these kind of like a date or whatever. No, he can wear it whenever. So Acqua di Gio Profumo for Zeus. Now for Poseidon, come on now. Oceania by Roja Parfums. Mainly because the name is fire and fits the god of the seas really, really well. But honestly, this fragrance, I associate it with water. Also because I would go to the beach in the summertime every single time I would go to the beach in the summertime, I was wearing this fragrance. So on my skin, it smells like a fresh, lemony fragrance that's also kind of watery at the same time. Now, I'm not saying that it smells like a certain type of water, more so that there is a smooth, watery, easygoing vibe when you're wearing this fragrance. It's refreshing, it's bright, and it's light, and it lasts over, lasts over 8 hours on my skin. So solid performance for a freshie. Poseidon, Oceania by Roja Parfums. Now, for the misunderstood brother. I got two, both from the same house. Carlisle by Parfums de Marly was the first one I thought of, because Carlisle is such a dark, complex scent. Okay, it's not a fragrance that's linear, that stays the same from the first time you spray it till the dry down. It is something that is always changing and evolving, and especially in the different type of weather that you wear it in. Like I wore it on a 70-degree day, which a lot of people will disagree with, right? Fahrenheit, I'm talking Fahrenheit, by the way, to all my European subscribers, but with that fragrance, when I was wearing it, when it was hot, it was more like appley. It was like more of like this appley fresh with a little Middle Eastern twist is what I got with that scent. Was it still a little bit heavy? Yes, but it still worked in like 70-degree weather. However, when I've worn this when it was cloudy outside, it became more like a little bit smoky, you know? And I was like, wow, like a little bit more resinous and thick, but not syrupy. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like a fog just radiating off my skin of like this really sensual, sexy, brooding smell. And when I think of Hades, I think of brooding. I also think of just, yeah, darkness, complexity, having multiple layers, all that kind of stuff. So Carlisle fits that down to a T. We love Hades over here, especially Hercules Hades. That guy was hilarious. Love the blue flame. And for the other Parfums de Marly I was going to mention, I'm going to go with Herod. And Herod mainly just because of the smoky tobacco leaf scent that is a little bit fiery, that kind of reminds me of, I don't want to say reminds me of hell, but like, you know, the underworld. Yeah, like Hades in the underworld smells like Herod, but just Hades in general, Carlisle, you know? I know that kind of sounds weird, but just like him in his element, Herod, but just like him as a standalone god, Carlisle. I hope that makes some sort of sense. Now, on to Athena, the goddess of war, wisdom. I have to give her Versace Dylan Blue. I don't have a bottle of it. I used to have it, but like when my grandma was staying with me for a little bit, but then she's got it right now because it's hers. But that fragrance screams like a woman that has her shit together. Okay, this is a woman that is not easily wavered whatsoever. She is a leader. She is just very intelligent and sure of herself. She is confident. She stands tall, and she just like, when she puts her mind to something, she follows through. That's the vibe I got when I smelled Versace Dylan Blue. I'm like, oh, this is a CEO woman type of fragrance right here. Like, she is not to be messed with. You know what I'm saying? So Athena is a lot of people's favorite Greek god or goddess because she's just like, she's intelligent, and a lot of them are just like sleeping around, you know what I mean? And I'm sure she did that too, but she was also just very strategical. And we love that about her. So Versace Dylan Blue for Athena. Now my favorite Greek god in general, I'm going to talk about next, and I'm going to give her Love Don't Be Shy, and by that name you already know who I'm talking about. Aphrodite, I love her. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But Love Don't Be Shy. Let me tell you my experience with this fragrance. When I sprayed it on myself the first time, I didn't get it. You know, it smelled like and it still smells like Fruit Loops and like a sensual kind of marshmallow, right? The Fruit Loops just a bit in the opening, and then it dries down more to just the sensual, sexy marshmallow smell, right? But when my sister wore this one day and she passed by me, I instantly snapped out of what I was doing, and I just like followed that scent with my nose. I was like, what are you wearing? That smells really nice. So this is a fragrance that like people's jaws drop when they smell it in passing because it's hypnotizing. Is it something that's like super, super sexy, like Good Girl by Carolina Herrera, where you're like, oh my God, like it just gets you worked up? Not so much. It is sexy, but it's more of just like it's like you're in a trance a little bit, and you're like, whoa, you're hypnotized, you know, and you can't help but just like want to keep following that scent. Now, if you're a guy watching this, give this one a shot. I know like the ladies are fearless with this fragrance. It's unisex, marketed to men and women, but yeah, the girls smell amazing with it, but guys also smell amazing with it. So don't worry about it being more on the feminine side. You can totally pull it off easily. So Aphrodite, Love Don't Be Shy. Lasts over 8 hours, and the scent trail, heavenly. Now, Hera, and she is known as the goddess of marriage and jealousy, right? Or like families, something like that. But yeah, and I'm not talking about like the mini sub gods, because I know that like with Nike, like the goddess of like victory and stuff, I'm just talking about the main ones that at least had their seats in the temple that was built. But yeah, for Hera, I'm gonna give her Mon Guerlain EDP because this is such a motherly scent to me. And when I think of Hera, I think of, you know, she's a mother, she's a wife, and she's just somebody that like, it's like when I think of mothers, I think of like comfort, femininity, strength also at the same time, and then just, yeah, like nurturing. And this is actually my mother's signature scent. So I'm like, okay, when I think of Hera, I think of mothers. I think of my mom, Mon Guerlain EDP, pretty much. This is a lavender vanilla fragrance that always just makes me happy when I smell it. This is one of the few scents that is, you know, it's a traditional feminine fragrance that I don't say is like, oh, it's a sexy scent. No, I'm always like, this is a beautiful fragrance. It smells regal. It smells classy. It smells sophisticated. So if you know a woman in your life or anybody in your life that likes feminine scents, that wants that kind of vibe, they will love Mon Guerlain EDP. Now, similar to Acqua di Gio Profumo, where I see this better suited on 30s and up versus the younger crowd, but the younger crowd could still wear it if they want to. But like I said, it just suits the mothers and the over 30s a lot more. So Mon Guerlain EDP. And I believe, talked about Aries, I was gonna say Hermes, right? But I don't think he fits Rosala that well. Hermes is the messenger god. And mainly because I'm thinking of Hercules Hermes, and that guy was like he's so tiny. You know, oh, you know what? Here's what I'll say. Dionysius. Dionysius was one of my favorite gods. That guy, I'm gonna give Versace Eros, because he's the god of partying. You know what I mean? He's the god of wine, partying, sex, all that kind of stuff. So for like Rager Dionysus, like party hard Dionysus, I'm gonna give him Versace Eros, because that is a fragrance that gets everybody's attention. It's a life of the party kind of scent. When you smell that on somebody, you're like, I am either gonna love you or hate you. You know what I mean? I'm either gonna be so pissed off by your presence because you're being too loud, or you and I are gonna just like pound 3 shots together back to back to back in 2 seconds and I don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? So Versace Eros is that mint apple vanilla fragrance. It's fresh enough with the mint and the apple, but the sweetness really rounds it off with that vanilla. So Versace Eros for Dionysus. However, I'm gonna say for grown Dionysus, for like the god of wine, sex Dionysus, I'm gonna say, where is it? Side Effect. Side Effect by Inicio. This fragrance right here is definitely more mature, more for an older crowd than Versace Eros. That one's more youthful. This one is more like god of sex and wine, because this is a boozy fragrance, but it's just also very, very, very attractive. And I have to say, it's totally growing on me. Absolutely. Oh, God. It makes your eyes roll back. And it's like, you know, when you're flirting with somebody and you're getting closer and closer, and then they smell really sexy and they're being smooth at the same time. And if they got a fragrance on like this and they're spitting game, it's over. It's literally over. So for Dionysus, for the older Dionysus, you know what I mean? Like a 25 up, and they're not like blacking out that much anymore. You're still getting trashed with wine, but I mean, it's not in the environment with drinking like shitty vodka back in your college days. The shitty vodka back in your college days, that's more Versace Eros. This is more grown. So Side Effect by Inicio easily lasts over 12 hours. Rum, cinnamon kind of fragrance. Now, I'm going to talk about Eros, because I realized I mentioned Dionysus as Eros, but for actual Eros, who is Cupid, Aphrodite's son, I am going to give him La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. And if you're wondering why I didn't use Versace Eros for Eros, it's because when I think of Cupid, Eros, I don't think of like a partier, and Versace Eros is such a partying fragrance. And this one, though, to me is sexy, sensual. This one's a bit softer. This is the fragrance that when you're talking to somebody and then the sexiness kind of like seeps through with this scent, it makes your mouth kind of water. I don't know if you've seen the video of me and my sister where we talked about this before, but she literally said that when she smelled this for the first time. She's like, my mouth is watering. That is the sexiest fragrance I've ever smelled. If I smelled that on a guy, I would go feral. Okay, so much like the bow and arrow, you know what I mean? And when you get hit with that bow and arrow, you fall in love. This is very similar. You smell this on somebody, you will fall in love. It just has that chokehold until today. From 2009 until today, so many women go crazy about this fragrance. So for Eros, Cupid, we're doing La Nuit de l'Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. And lastly, before I forget, Hephaestus. the god of fire. He's also known as Vulcan in Roman mythology, but he's also known as the ugly god. They call him the ugliest god, which sucks. You know what I mean? He's like the blacksmith, and he built everybody's like thrones and stuff like that. But I'm gonna give him by the fireplace because this thing smells like intense smoke and burning wood and fire in the opening. But then it dries down to this sort of like this sweet, cozy s'mores vanilla chestnut vibe, right? After about like an hour or two. So when you smell it, you just are so comforted and you're just so at ease when you smell that kind of scent. So I think that the reason I think of Hephaestus is because, I hope I didn't say Dionysius earlier, but Hephaestus is because like the opening is kind of like how people view him of like, oh, that's intense, it's fiery, it's a bit strong, it might be a bit off-putting, but then the dry down is like, oh, it's sweet. Like him, like he's humble, you know, he's more than just his looks, pretty much. So, Hephaestus by the Fireplace by Maison Margiela. Anyways, I know that there's more gods and goddesses out there, but those were the ones that came to my mind. I hope this isn't really an insightful video, but it was fun to do nonetheless. Like I said in the beginning, I'm going to leave everything linked in the description below if you want to check out these fragrances. Thanks for watching, and if you have any other ideas for a series, I'm down to do all of that. So have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.